The first thread came loose on a Wednesday afternoon, and it didn't even snap. It unraveled so quietly, it took me a full day to realize it had started at all. I was at work, slouched in front of 2 monitors glowing with code I barely cared about anymore. My phone buzzed. One message. Just one. It was from her. Kip offered me something wild today. Gonna sound insane. I'll tell you when I get home. Don't freak out, lol. I remember staring at that text for way too long. Not because I was nervous. Because I didn't like the word offered. And I didn't like the LOL. Not from her. Not like that. It was performative. A setup. Like she already knew I wouldn't like whatever the hell this was and needed to put a soft cushion under it. She walked in that night with wet hair and that same burgundy hoodie she always wore when she wanted me to think she was still my girl. The one who made grilled cheese at midnight and sang off-key on purpose. But I already felt something behind her eyes wasn't hers anymore. Like there was a second voice living in her head now, speaking louder than mine. She sat on the arm of the couch, bouncing her leg. So, Kip wants me to come with him to Spain this summer. He's doing a behavioral study thing. Big deal. He said I'm his top pick. I didn't answer. Not immediately, because I was trying to measure her tone. Not the words. I was listening to the pauses. The way her smile didn't reach her eyes. The way her fingers played with the cuff of her sleeve like she was nervous but trying to sell it as excitement. Why does he want you? Not the whole class? I asked. She shrugged too fast. I don't know. I guess he trusts me? Said I'm focused. That I can handle the pressure. And, I mean, it's Spain, babe. She said babe and it sounded like glass cracking. She was already sure she was going. That was clear. This conversation wasn't about asking me anything. It was a script. She was playing the role of a person who still cared what I thought. Just enough to make it look like she hadn't already made up her mind. Who's going? I pressed. Just me and him. Just me and him. There it was. The gunshot without the gun. The first real proof that something had shifted, maybe long before I ever noticed. You think that's appropriate? I asked very calmly. She blinked. What's that supposed to mean? You're married. He's your professor. This isn't a movie. It's real life. That's when her mask slipped. Just a second. Her lips curled. Not in a smirk, but in that tight, angry way people get when they're offended you've forced them to drop the act. You're being paranoid, she said coldly. This is my career. Don't guilt me because you hate your job and want me to stay small. And there it was. It hit me like stepping off a curb and realizing the ground is 5 feet lower than you expected. I didn't say anything after that. I didn't even argue. Because in that moment, I wasn't afraid of the trip or even the professor. I was afraid of her. Afraid of what she was becoming in real time. Something brazen, entitled, smug. Someone who could look me in the eye and turn our life into an inconvenience. The worst part wasn't the offer. It wasn't even the idea that something had already happened between them. It was how confident she was that she could play me, right to my face. I slept on the couch that night, not because we fought, but because the idea of lying next to her made my stomach feel like it was filled with gravel. She left her phone charging on the counter, like always. I'd never gone through it before, but that night, something ancient in me moved. Not jealousy, not suspicion, instinct, like a bloodhound's nose flaring. And what I found in there didn't just change things. It detonated them. Her phone didn't have a lock. That had always been our silent agreement. We weren't the kind of couple that played games with passwords. But as I swiped it open that night, thumb trembling in a way that made me hate myself, I realized that trust had died months ago and I just refused to bury the body. The first thing I checked was the messages. Not our thread. Hers and Kip's. I didn't even have to scroll far. Right at the top was a pinned conversation with a contact saved as KW. I clicked it. The first message was from earlier that morning. KW, still thinking about that thing you said on Monday. If this trip goes the way I'm hoping, you might not need to come back. What the hell? I read it again and again. Not because I didn't understand it, because I understood it too well. My hands were sweating. My ears started ringing. I kept going. Her, don't tempt me, lol. I'd leave it all behind tomorrow. Just say the word. Leave it all. Me. Then there was a photo. Just a selfie. Nothing graphic. But it wasn't a regular picture either. It was one she had taken in the bathroom. Wet hair, bare shoulder, towel pulled way too low. Not full nudity, but that wasn't the point. It was the tone, the angle, the intent. The caption read, "Motivation for tomorrow's lecture." I put the phone down. I actually had to walk away from it. My skin felt like it didn't fit right. My heart was banging like someone had set off a fire alarm inside my ribs. I walked into the kitchen, opened the fridge, closed it. I wasn't hungry. I was shaking. This wasn't a suspicion anymore. This wasn't even a betrayal. This was a coordinated demolition of our entire life, conducted under my nose with the kind of confidence only someone who had already made a decision could have. I went back to the phone, scrolled further. There were weeks of this, months even, long texts where they gushed about their connection, her praising his brilliance, him telling her how wasted she was in her current life, inside jokes, flirtation, soft threats, real plans. Somewhere around late March, the messages stopped dancing around it and started saying the quiet part out loud. I just don't feel like Jason sees me anymore. He's just there, like a roommate who used to matter. I don't know. I want to feel something real again. KW. Then stop waiting for permission to live your life. Come with me. We'll write the next chapter together. Without the dead weight. Dead weight. That's what I was to them. Place she stored her things. A warm body she used for appearances. And while I was folding laundry and paying bills and planning our anniversary weekend, they were plotting a beautiful little escape story with me as the boring side character they needed to kill off emotionally. But here's the part one didn't expect. I wasn't devastated. Not in that moment. I was focused. Something sharpened in me that night. An instinct I didn't even know I had. I was going to let her play out this charade. Let her hang herself with the same rope she thought she was using to tie me up. I wasn't going to confront her that night. No, that would give her time to pivot, to lie, to backpedal and gaslight me into the role of the insecure husband. I was going to build a case, brick by brick, word by word, until her whole fake world came crashing down in front of her, with no exit. And when it did, I wouldn't be the one begging. She would. The morning after was ordinary. She made coffee like always. Same mug, same vanilla creamer, same fake hum under her breath as if the day was just beginning. And she was just another innocent woman on her way to conquer her little academic dreams. She kissed my cheek. That nearly made me flinch. Not because of the contact, but because of the performance. She kissed me like I was a child, like a woman tucking her son in before heading out to meet her lover. Detached, polished, scripted. "Don't wait up," she said lightly, sliding her tote bag over her shoulder. "Might be a late one. Kip's letting me run a mock seminar tonight." I forced a smile that probably looked like rigor mortis and waved her off. Good luck. As soon as the door clicked shut, I was in motion. I didn't go to work that day. Instead, I did what I should have done 2 months ago. I started digging. Not through her texts, those I already had screenshots of. Not through her emails, I didn't have her password and didn't need it. No. I was done playing catch-up. I needed to move ahead of her. I drove to the university. I knew where Kip's office was. She'd shown it to me once when we met for lunch on campus, back when she still tried to keep up the illusion that we were a team. I walked the halls of the psychology department like a man on a mission. And when I got to his office, the door was open. He was inside, alone. Dr. Kip Warner, mid-40s, button-down shirt, one too many open buttons. The kind of smirk that belonged to someone who'd never been told no, at least not in a way that stuck. He looked up, surprised but not threatened. "Can I help you?" I stepped in, closed the door behind me. "I'm Jason, her husband." His expression didn't flinch. Not one bit. He just leaned back in his chair, like this wasn't the first time a man had walked in looking for answers. "Ah," he said. "Didn't know you two were still together." The way he said it, still together, like we were already a footnote, like he was just cleaning up after the credits. I walked over to his desk, took out my phone. I opened the screenshots folder, scrolled to the one with her towel photo and the caption. I placed it in front of him. "This is your definition of mentorship?" He stared at it, didn't even blink. Then he smiled, actually smiled. "She's a grown woman. If she wants to be more than some coder's neglected wife, that's not on me." My fist twitched. I didn't hit him. Not because I didn't want to. but because I knew that's exactly the kind of story he'd love to tell her later. Your husband came in here like a caveman. You see? He doesn't deserve you. So instead, I leaned forward. She's not going with you. He laughed. You think you get to decide that? I said nothing. I left, because I didn't need to argue with him. I needed to break her script. She thought she had two men circling her orbit. One dull, one exciting. One safe, one bold. But what she didn't realize is that when you pull the same trick on two different people, eventually they compare notes. I had a plan now, and it started with showing her I wasn't going to beg. I was going to expose. She came home that evening humming. Actually humming. As if nothing in the universe had shifted. As if the betrayal she had sewn so casually into the fabric of our lives wasn't already unraveling beneath her feet. I was on the couch, phone in hand, pretending to scroll while I watched her dump her bag by the door. She kicked off her shoes, slid into the kitchen, opened a bottle of white like it was just another midweek unwind. Long day, she said, sipping without a glass. I nodded, eyes fixed on the screen. Yeah. You good? She smiled, bright and unbothered. Yeah. Seminar went amazing. He said I've got a real gift for engagement. Might let me take over a full class next term. I let that hang in the air. Let her marinate in the illusion that I was still asleep. Still willing to clap for her like a good little fan while she juggled her secret life behind the curtain. Then I said, I saw him today. Silence. Not hesitation. Silence. Like when a needle gets yanked off a record. She didn't respond immediately. Just stood there. Bottle halfway to her lips. Saw who? I looked up. Your professor. She laughed. Tried to. Came out like dry leaves scratching across pavement. What? Did you run into him somewhere? No. I went to his office. Now I saw it. The mask didn't just slip this time. Cracked. A hairline fracture, but unmistakable. Why would you do that? Her voice pitched higher, strained with that fake confusion. To introduce myself, I said slowly. Since he's been spending more time with you lately than I have. She set the bottle down. Not gently. You went through my phone, didn't you? So fast. Straight to defense. No denial. That was her tell. No, I said. You left it open. I didn't go through it. I walked into it. You just didn't bother locking the door. She crossed her arms now. That tight, cold stare she saved for when she wanted to punish me emotionally without saying a word. You had no right. I tilted my head. You had no right to lie to my face while planning a romantic escape with a married professor using our rent money for flights. She flinched. Small but real. She didn't expect me to say it out loud. She expected guilt. Maybe tears. Rage maybe if she was lucky. But not facts. Not calm. Clear, deliberate truth. You don't know what you're talking about, she snapped. I stood up. I know you told him you'd leave me. I know you sent him pictures. I know you made fun of me, called me dead weight. I know he thinks I'm just a placeholder. But here's what you don't know. I walked toward her slowly, not aggressive, just certain. I already spoke to someone on the academic board. Showed them the messages. Your little summer fantasy? It's over. He's under investigation now. You'll be lucky if you get to keep your thesis slot. Her face went white. Actual fear. Not sadness. Not regret. Fear for herself. You think you're some kind of hero? She hissed. You ruined my career. No, I said. You did. I just turned the lights on. She stormed into the bedroom and slammed the door, thinking that somehow that would still control the scene. But I didn't follow. I sat back on the couch, picked up my phone, and forwarded the screenshots to myself. She wasn't going to gaslight her way out of this. She was going to face the story she wrote. And the best part? I hadn't even told her the worst of it yet. The bedroom door stayed shut all night. She didn't cry, didn't apologize, didn't even try to defend herself. Not in any way that sounded like a human being trying to keep a marriage from sinking. It was like watching someone step out of a burning house and shrug at the smoke. And the worst part? I don't think she ever actually believed she'd have to answer for it. But I wasn't done. Not even close. By the next morning, she was back in her performance mode. Hair done, blazer on, face painted with that same sterile expression she used at faculty mixers. Pleasant, unreadable, mildly annoyed. She walked past me like I was furniture. No good morning. No glance. But as she reached the door, I said without looking up, "You might want to check your email." She paused. I didn't see her face, but I heard the pause. You know the kind, it hums in the air like a live wire. "What did you do?" I finally looked at her. "Nothing you didn't already do. I just helped it find the right inbox." I had sent everything to her advisor, the department chair, and the academic ethics committee. But I didn't stop there, because I knew her type. She wouldn't fold because of guilt. She'd fight because she thinks she's clever. Above consequences, always one step away from charming her way out of trouble. So I planned for that too. I'd also sent an anonymous tip to the department's anonymous misconduct portal, with receipts, dates, screenshots, and quotes that would take a team of lawyers to untangle. And that wasn't the worst of it. I talked to Kip's wife. That got her. She turned around so fast the door didn't even get a chance to click shut. "You what?" I stood up. "Oh yeah, lovely woman, actually. Very kind. Very tired. You know, she had no idea he was mentoring his students with his pants halfway down. But now she does." "You're insane." I stepped closer. "No, I'm meticulous. And I'm not done yet." She opened her mouth, closed it. The wheels were turning, but they weren't spinning. They were grinding. She was trying to decide which version of herself to deploy next. The victim? The indignant professional? The gaslighter? Instead, she landed on silence. Smart, but too late. "I'll give you a choice," I said. "You can leave quietly. No theatrics. No drama. Just go. Or you can wait around for the university to finish what I started." She didn't answer. She left 20 minutes later. Didn't even take all her things. Just 2 suitcases and her laptop. She didn't hug me. Didn't look back. But before she shut the door, she did say one thing. "I hope you're happy." Not "I'm sorry." Not "I messed up." Just blame. Like I'd kicked over her castle of lies and somehow ruined her beach day. And I stood there, watching the door swing shut, realizing something I hadn't fully grasped until then. She never loved me. Not really. She loved being adored. She loved being the center. She loved being safe while fantasizing about danger. I was the seatbelt she unbuckled while speeding toward a wall, just to see how it felt. And now I was the one holding the map out of the wreckage. She stayed silent for 4 days. Not a call. Not a text. Not a single breadcrumb tossed my way to test if I'd come crawling back. Which told me everything I needed to know. Because people like her don't go quiet out of guilt. They go quiet when they're calculating. I wasn't idle, though. I was rebuilding. Fast. Quiet. Brutal. I met with a divorce attorney that Monday. Clean, professional, no drama. I told him everything, no exaggerations, just the raw timeline. He nodded a lot, typed quickly, and told me with unsettling calm, "You're going to want to freeze any joint accounts, and you'll need to serve her before she can spin this into some emotional hardship narrative." Done. I closed our shared credit card that afternoon, canceled her secondary card, transferred half of our savings into a separate account. I left a polite note in our banking app, "You made your decision. I'm making mine." And I was still just warming up. What I didn't expect was what happened on Thursday night. I got a knock at the door around 8:30. Not a buzz, an actual knock. Slow. Soft. I knew it was her before I even stood up. I opened the door. She looked different. Not broken, but cornered. Hair tied up hastily. Hoodie, his probably. Minimal makeup. None of the armor she usually wore when she wanted to spin a situation in her favor. She walked in without asking. "I got suspended," she said. Just like that. "They're investigating now. I can't finish the semester." I didn't say anything. Just leaned against the table and watched her pace. "You didn't have to blow it up like this," she snapped, turning to me with this bizarre mixture of fury and wounded pride. "You could have talked to me. We could have handled this like adults." I laughed. Actually laughed. "You mean I could have let you lie a little longer? Let you disappear to Spain? Pretend you were working late while he undressed you with his eyes in lecture halls?" "Stop being dramatic," she said, rolling her eyes. I stepped forward. "You lied. You planned an entire escape from this life. With him. Behind my back. For months. And you want to call me dramatic?" She stared at me for a second. And then, like flipping a switch, her face softened. That awful, practiced tenderness returned. "I was confused," she whispered. "I didn't mean to hurt you. I felt invisible. You stopped looking at me like I mattered. I almost believed it. Almost. Until I remembered the messages. Until I remembered how she described me to him." I shook my head. "You didn't cheat because you were invisible. You cheated because you were bored, and he made you feel like you could be the star in someone else's movie. And now that it's over, you're coming back to the one man who actually gave a damn." She didn't deny it. She just sat down at the kitchen table and put her head in her hands. A long silence followed. No tears. Just stillness. She knew she couldn't lie her way out anymore. The spotlight was too bright now. "Why are you here?" I asked after a while. "Really?" She looked up. And for the first time in weeks, maybe months, she looked honest. "Because I don't have anywhere else to go." That was the moment I realized something important. This wasn't love. It never had been. It was dependence dressed up as passion. It was entitlement masked as connection. She wasn't back because she missed me. She was back because she fell, and I was the last solid ledge before the bottom. I walked over to the drawer, pulled out the divorce papers I'd printed and had ready, dropped them on the table in front of her. "Now you do." She looked at them, then at me, and I saw it clear as day. The fear wasn't about losing me. It was about losing the version of herself she got to be when I still believed in her. She didn't touch the papers. Not that night. She just stared at them like they were written in a language she couldn't read. Like the idea of facing consequences still hadn't fully landed. As if by sitting quietly, pouting just right, maybe the storm would pass and I'd fold like I always used to. But something had snapped in me. And this time it wasn't going to get taped back together. She stayed the night. Not by my invitation and not in our bed. I made it clear, guest room only one night, and that was it. She didn't argue. She just nodded, lips pressed thin, holding on to whatever dignity she still thought she had left. I barely slept. I kept seeing her messages. Dead weight, just say the word, he doesn't see me anymore. Like mantras from a woman I thought I knew. And now she was under my roof again. Temporarily. Like a stranger who'd stolen my wife's face. Morning came and I didn't ask if she wanted coffee. I didn't offer small talk. I handed her a manila envelope and said, "That's the cleanest version of the separation agreement you're ever going to get. If you stall or try to flip this, I'll file with everything." Publicly. She opened it. Brows knit. Lips twitching at legal terms she didn't understand. "You really want to ruin my life?" she asked, almost softly, like she was testing the floor for cracks. "You ruined mine," I said. "I'm just clearing the rubble." She was quiet again. And then she laughed. Not out of joy. Out of spite. That bitter little sound people make when they realize they're not the one in control anymore. "You think you're going to walk away from this clean?" she snapped. "That you'll be some kind of hero? People will find out, Jason. My parents are friends, they'll know you outed me to the department. That you wrecked my future out of revenge." I walked up to her. Close enough for her to feel how steady I was now. "I didn't out you. You did. You left a digital trail like a drunk burglar, pictures, texts, declarations. You burned your own house down and now you're mad the neighbors saw the smoke." She hated that. Hated being outmaneuvered. Hated that the mess was too big now to sweep under her fake intellectual carpet. But she said nothing. She packed the next morning. Not everything. Just essentials. The things she couldn't replace. Her laptop, a few folders, her perfume, a necklace I bought her on our second anniversary, which she hesitated with, then stuffed into her bag anyway. "I'm staying with a friend," she said flatly at the door. I didn't ask who. I didn't care. I could already guess. Before she left, she turned back one last time. "You were supposed to be my home." I met her eyes, unflinching. "You burned it down." The door closed behind her, and just like that, the weight lifted. Not all at once, but enough. Enough to take my first real breath in weeks. Enough to stand in that quiet apartment and feel the space change. Not empty, but honest. No more shadows. No more masks. Just me. And the beginning of something new. The first week without her was the strangest kind of peace. Not silence, I still heard echoes of her. Her playlist autoplaying from the bathroom speaker. A hoodie she left draped over the couch. The faint scent of her shampoo lingering in the sheets she hadn't slept in for days. But the air? The air was lighter. She didn't text. Not directly. But mutual friends started getting curious. First, it was Rob, the kind of guy who'd rather eat drywall than involve himself in relationship drama. He called me out of nowhere. "Hey man, just checking in. She told Claire you guys had a huge miscommunication, and that you kicked her out over a misunderstanding. Something about jealousy?" There it was. The second script. Act 2. The poor misunderstood wife and her overreacting husband. "She told you that?" I asked, deadpan. She's spinning it like, "You found some messages out of context and went nuclear. She didn't mention Spain or anything about a professor." Of course she didn't, because her version of events only works if the audience doesn't have access to the receipts. And since most people don't want to get in the middle, they just nod, say "that sucks," and let the lie pass unchecked. I was done letting lies walk around in my skin. I told Rob the real story. Just the basics, no rage, no embellishment. Her months-long emotional affair, the offer from Kip, the screenshots, the professional consequences, the way she looked me in the eye and chose someone else, then tried to crawl back when it all exploded. He didn't say anything for a few seconds. Then, finally, "Jesus, man, I'm sorry. I had no idea." "Neither did I said. "Until I did." And that's how it began. Word started to spread. Not by me, but through the natural flow of people finally comparing notes. Little details she'd told one person that didn't line up with what another had heard. Friends who saw her and Kip out together for coffee back in February, suddenly remembering the way they sat too close. The way she laughed like she was trying to be watched. She had spent so long weaving her web that she forgot people talk. Meanwhile, Kip vanished. Not literally, but from her narrative. His wife filed for separation the same week. The university froze his access to all mentoring programs. Rumor had it he was trying to pivot to a sabbatical, stress leave, or some nonsense to save face. But the investigation was still on. I kept my head down. Didn't gloat. Didn't post. Didn't retaliate. But I was watching the storm roll back over her. And then, 2 weeks later, she showed up again. I was coming back from the grocery store. Normal errand. Normal day. And there she was, sitting on the steps outside the building like a scene from a movie she was trying to direct. No bags. No smile. Just waiting. I walked past her, keys in hand, like she was just another resident. She stood up quickly. "Can we talk?" "No. Please, just 5 minutes. I'm not here to fight." I sighed, unlocked the door, and stepped inside. 5 minutes. In the lobby. Not in my home. She nodded. We sat down across from each other on the 2 faded leather chairs in the corner of the building's common area. The silence between us was massive. She looked smaller. Not physically. Something in her presence had shrunk. Like the bravado had been peeled back. And all that was left was a person who didn't know where to go now that her lies had expired. "I've been thinking a lot," she started. "About everything. About how fast it all spiraled." It didn't spiral. It escalated exactly the way it should have when the truth showed up. She looked down, hands twisted in her lap. "I don't expect forgiveness," she said finally. I don't know. I guess I wanted you to know that I'm not pretending anymore. I messed up. I let someone talk to me like I wasn't married. I let him turn me into someone I hate." I leaned forward, elbows on knees. "You didn't let him do anything. You chose. Every step. And now you don't like the mirror." She nodded slowly. "I lost everything." "No," I said. "You still have your name. Your hands. Your time. You have a chance to rebuild. But not with me." She looked up, and I saw it, real acceptance. The kind that doesn't scream or plead. Just sits there holding the weight. "Goodbye," I said. And this time she didn't argue. She stood, nodded once, and walked out the door. No last word. No twist. Just the quiet collapse of a story that had finally run out of chapters. After she left the building that day, something strange happened. Not relief. Not satisfaction. Stillness. Like the final note of a long, bitter song had finally faded. And I was standing in the aftermath with nothing left to brace for. I didn't celebrate. I didn't text anyone. I just went upstairs, put away the groceries, and sat in my kitchen for a long time, listening to the hum of the fridge. I thought I'd feel free. Instead, I felt aware. More aware than I had in months. Not just of her or what she'd done, but of myself. Of all the little ways I'd shrunk to fit her shadow. Of how often I had second-guessed my own instincts, telling myself, no, she wouldn't do that. She's not that kind of person. But she was. And the truth is, she always had been. The signs were there, early on. The way she flirted with the boundaries of honesty. The way she spoke about people she once cared about, cold and distant, as if emotional ties were props to be dropped between scenes. But I mistook her sharp edges for confidence. I mistook the way she moved through people as strength. And now the fog had cleared. I started rebuilding, not dramatically, not with some grand new life montage, just piece by piece. First, the apartment. I moved her things out of sight, bagged up what she hadn't taken, dropped it off at a neutral location she and I both knew. A storage locker we'd once rented during a move. Left a note with the key. Then I reconnected. Not with her. With me. I started going to a boxing gym nearby. Not to become some revenge body cliché, but because I needed to hit something that didn't hit back. I needed movement, grit, pain that was honest. Every jab, every round on the heavy bag. It felt like pulling thorns from under my skin. I started sleeping better. Not because I was over it, but because I finally wasn't living in her lie. My friends, real ones, came around again. We grabbed beers, sat on rooftops, talked like we used to. I told them the truth. All of it. Not for sympathy. Just because I was done pretending anything about that marriage had been sacred near the end. Some of them were shocked. Others, not so much. One of them, Amy, an old friend from college who knew both of us, said something that stuck with me. I always thought she wanted a stage, not a partner. You were just the spotlight. It hit harder than anything Kip could have thrown at me. Because it was true. She didn't just betray me with another man. She betrayed the very idea of us. She weaponized my loyalty, treated my stability like a backdrop for her own self-discovery. And the second the spotlight dimmed, when real life started asking real questions, she looked for the next stage. I wasn't her husband anymore. I was her opening act. But the best part? The curtains were down now. The theater was empty. And for the first time in a long time, I was walking out. Not heartbroken, not enraged, just awake. It's been 4 months since she walked out of my life for the last time. The silence isn't sharp anymore. It's clean, like a room finally cleared of smoke. The shadows don't whisper in the corners like they used to. Her name doesn't sit on my tongue like something I have to swallow. It's just done. Final. I filed the divorce officially 3 weeks ago. She signed. No fight. No handwritten letters. No Hail Mary apology or movie scene closure. Just a signature in blue ink on a document that closed a chapter so loud and so gut-wrenching. It took my voice with it for a while. But I have it back now. All of it. I see things differently, people, intentions, silences between sentences. I've learned that betrayal doesn't always come with a scream or a slammed door. Sometimes, it walks in quietly wearing your favorite sweatshirt, pours itself a glass of wine, and kisses you on the forehead while it rots your world from the inside out. But you survive it. You survive it by facing the ugliest parts of it. By sitting with the truth. Not running, not sugarcoating, not bargaining with a past that was already ash before you even noticed the fire. I don't check her social media anymore. Not because I'm resisting, because I genuinely don't care. Let her spin whatever version of our story she needs to feel safe in the wreckage. Let her chase new stages, new spotlights, new masks to wear. That part of my life is behind glass now, sealed off, studied, understood. I even ran into someone new. Not like that, not yet. Just coffee, conversation, an easy laugh that didn't feel loaded or strategic. No pressure, no need to perform. Just two people talking, without history trying to claw its way into the space between words. And that's the thing. I'm not looking for the next big thing. Not looking to replace her or prove anything to anyone. I'm building something quieter this time. Something honest. Something mine. If you're reading this, and you're in the place I was, half aware, doubting your gut, shrinking yourself for someone who stopped seeing you months ago, I'll tell you this. Don't wait for it to burn all the way down. Don't let charm outrun truth. Don't confuse chaos for passion, or manipulation for mystery. You'll be called controlling for wanting clarity. You'll be called insecure for asking questions. You'll be called dramatic for protecting your peace. Let them call you whatever they want. Because the truth? You'll breathe better alone in the truth than you ever will suffocating next to someone who lies with a straight face. I did, and I'm still here. Not broken. Just finally whole.